All right. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the today's interview today with Michael Saltzman. He's the director of digital products with Blue Sky Bio. Now, if you've taken my classes, you know that quite a few of them have been sponsored with Blue Sky Bio, and in our digital aligner bootcamp course. The majority of the morning on the second day is going through cases with the Blue Sky Plan software and their Ortho module. So it's something that I use a lot in my practice, and that's what the Digital Aligner Bootcamp is very much geared towards ortho education and the biomechanics with aligners using any system. But then the second day morning, we actually work through cases using the Ortho module in Blue Sky Plan. And so, and then I wanted to get Michael on. I've been wanting to talk with him for a while because what they've been doing with the Ortho product or the Ortho module in Blue Sky Plan, they just keep adding R&D to it. It just keeps getting better and better. And so there's been some really cool innovations with that and upgrades with that. But then also there is a new remote monitoring piece to the whole Blue Sky ecosystem that I really want to flesh out because I think it's really cool. We're just getting started with it in our office, and I see a lot of potential. And so that's another big thing I wanted to get Michael on and talk about. So Michael, thanks for meeting with me today, and tell the audience a little bit about how you got started with Blue Sky Bio, and then I'm kind of focused. A lot of people know about the implant side, but I'd like to focus a little bit more on the ortho side of things today.
Okay, well, let me get started. And let me start by thanking you very much for the opportunity and for taking the time to meet and discuss. I'll tell a little bit of a story, and I think that will kind of put a lot of the pieces of the puzzle together. I've been with Blue Sky Bio pretty much from the beginning of the digital, which goes back around 14 or 15 years. And at the beginning, we started with a very small team of developers working on, a couple of particular applications and functionality. And yes, it was connected to implants and surgical guides. And as the years went on, the surgical guide module kept getting larger. Our team grew. The number of users grew. The number of countries the software is being used in continued growing. And once we had this team in place, we kind of took it past implants and surgical guides. We started off with one module. Today in the software, we have around 8 modules. Ortho is definitely up and coming. We have a growing user base connected to Ortho, but the whole story has begun way beyond the software, because what we started with the software, then we saw, okay, now dentists need a way to be able to transfer their data and store their data. So we developed Bio Big Box, which is a HIPAA compliant file transfer system. And then we saw, okay, great. Now they have the software. Now they have the way to transfer the data. Sometimes they need help. Sometimes they don't have the time or yet the background to be able to plan the case themselves, or maybe they do plan the case themselves, but they need help now manufacturing, or maybe they know how to do both, but they're just jam-packed with time. They need an extra level of assistance. So then we launched Lab Pronto, which essentially provides that and fills that void. And a dentist could go and can order the digital planning or the manufacturing, or outsource the entire case. So for example, for orthodontics, a dentist could get their digital 2 setup done for $49. And a full aligner case, including the planning and including the manufacturing, starts at $499. So the prices are very reasonable, and they're very much in line with the whole Blue Sky Bio mentality, which is innovative dentistry at really affordable prices. So we started with Blue Sky Plan, we moved on to Bio Big Box, Lab Pronto, and the next step in the system is really the remote monitoring. Okay, so now the dentist gave the patient their aligners, and now they need to be able to follow up in a time-effective and costly manner. And that's really what the scope is doing. It's allowing the dentist to monitor the patient from afar. The patient could attach their cell phone to the scope and perform the scans from anywhere, from their house, from anywhere. The dentist could review the scans, look at the scans, and of course, when necessary, have the face-to-face meeting. So right now, we've launched our first release of the functionality. It's just the beginning in terms of the remote monitoring functionality. The iSmile app, which is the patient-focused app, can now do the remote monitoring, can now do 2D smile design, which allows the patient with or without the dentist to just take a photo of themselves with their teeth smiling, and then it replaces the teeth with what is becoming more and more perfect teeth. It is an AI machine learning system and program. So we've released the first iteration, and yes, it's improving with time. So we have the 2D smile design, and really the whole Blue Sky ecosystem has become Blue Sky Digital with many different components. And what's great about it is, first of all, you could sign once you have a username and password, or you're signing in with your Google, your Apple, or whatever you're signing in with. That one account gives you access to everything, and everything more and more is becoming integrated. It's starting to talk to each other. Cases that you plan in Blue Sky Plan could go up to the Bio Big Box Cloud. We'll be able to go to Lab Pronto. We'll be able to transfer automatically to remote monitoring. So everything's integrated, and almost everything is also, you can get started with it at no outlay, financial outlay. So you could try things out. When you see that's worthwhile, you got the plan, you're starting with remote monitoring or whatever it is. And once you see that you like the system and you want to be able to upgrade, so at that point, there are charges involved with it, obviously, but dentists could definitely get started very easily and very quickly. So I think I just unloaded a lot of information there. So I'll pass it back to you.
Well, I think that's what's been one of the most exciting things, because I started first off with Blue Sky Bio. I started with them back in 2012 when I started with implants, and I didn't have cone beam at that time, so I was just starting with their implants. And then once I got access to a cone beam, then started using the guide software and all that stuff. And it's just really been cool over the last 10 years that I've been using you guys to see the evolution over time. And one of the things I most respect about the company is that it's focusing on, it's funny, there's this buzz term of being disruptive, right? This disruptor in the industry. But that is kind of what Blue Sky Bio has been doing, because they're constantly like feeding in and doing R&D and trying new things out. And then also what's cool about it is keeping it at a price point that is much more affordable for the vast majority of dentists. And so if we are able to have our supplies affordably, then we can then price our services affordably to more of the patient population. So that's what's really cool about this. And I really respect Blue Sky Bio's, integrity, and then also their kind of mission of doing that, both being disruptive and making things affordable for clinicians and patients alike. So that's pretty cool. So first thing I want to talk about before we get into the remote monitoring is a little bit about maybe some of the updates over the last year or 6 months to Blue Sky Plan. Say somebody started off with Blue Sky Plan. I started with it back in like 2017, or basically right when you guys started putting the aligner, and I'd been doing the Ceph stuff before that even, but the Ortho aligner modules. Some people don't know that now you can do indirect bonding trays. And also a little quip on that, I'm working with GC Ortho to try to get their bracket library into Blue Sky Plan, so that way we could start using GC Ortho brackets. Hopefully that hits a snowball effect like implants did, where one company puts their files in, their STL design files in, and then another company does, and another company does. So hopefully someday we have 3M, we have Ormco, we have all of these bracket manufacturers in the software. But yeah, tell the viewers a little bit about some of the innovations that have gone into the Ortho module over the last year or so.
Okay, I mean, there's so much that's going through my mind as you're saying what you're saying. The disruption, let me just jump back to that, is something that I'm really proud of in terms of Blue Sky Bio, the Blue Sky Bio team, and what we've accomplished. Just jumping back to surgical guides for a second, there are certain things, for example, being able to create your own surgical guide and export. When we started doing that, I don't know if there's any other software out there that was doing that. And that's become an industry standard.
Right.
And something that we take a lot of pride in is not only has it become the industry standard, prices for surgical guides have fallen so considerably over the years for many different reasons, for the printers, printing materials, and whatever. But I also think a lot of the innovation, which a lot of the major steps that led to it led the way. Blue Sky Bio led the way, and that's become an industry standard, and it's lowered prices because of it. And I actually see the same thing happening now with orthodontics. So orthodontics is something that we got into, quite a few years later, but it's something that we're continuing to innovate with. For example, to be able to export the liner trim curve is something that you could definitely do in Blue Sky Plan. To be able to create STL files of the liners themselves, not just the models, the liners, is something you're able to do with Blue Sky Plan. And we're yet to see where that's going to go, but we've already have the technology in place.
Now we just need the resin to catch up.
Exactly. And there's a lot more. Just the amount of automation, automatic button placement. We have automatic segmentation, but that's getting much better. Automatic CT tooth segmentation is something that we're going to be releasing the next version. And now we're going to be applying it to orthodontics. So you'll be able to, with a single click, you'll be able to segment all the teeth from the CT scan and turn them into STL files. And it's something that we're going to be releasing now for orthodontics, is when you're planning your cases, if you're doing an STL scan or an intraoral, but along with that, the CT scan, you'll be able to convert the teeth from the CT scan into STL files. They'll be aligned with the teeth, with the crowns of the teeth. And as you plan your case and move the crowns of the teeth, you're going to see how the actual roots of the actual patient's teeth move along with that.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's something that's going to be coming out in our next release. And just the direction of automation and AI and machine learning is something that we've jumped into 2 feet into the pool. Everything is just becoming more automatic, less user intervention. Of course, at every step, the user could review and can see what was done, but automatically cleaning up the models, automatically trimming the models. It's really pretty much every step we're improving with automation, making it faster and easier for the user to do. And if they want to make modifications, they can make modifications. If not, if everything looks good, they just click the next button and they go on with the process. So all the stuff is getting an upgrade and is continuing to get an upgrade. The integration of all the systems, the remote monitoring now is very significant, that we're attaching both to Blue Sky Plan and to Lab Pronto, and of course integrated with Bio Big Box. So all of these things, and I'm just talking now just about the orthodontics module, but we have development going on with most of the modules that we have in the software are going to get updated with their next release and our continuous releases. And at the same time, we're keeping up with mobile. Some of the releases have been announced already, new apps that we have. We have the Blue Sky Meet, which is similar to video conferencing. And in addition to mobile, is the server side, is cloud-based. So a lot of things are going to be going server side, which is going to make the processing power better. It's going to make open the doors for more machine learning, for more automation. You'll be able to do a lot more things from a lot more devices over time. So it's really technology today. To keep up with technology and innovation today is much more difficult in many ways than it was, even 7 or 10 years ago, because now you're not just dealing with software development, you're dealing with mobile, dealing with server side, you're dealing with machine learning, artificial intelligence. So there's a lot more to keep up with, but at the same time, there's a lot more tools in the toolbox that we could take advantage of. And in turn, we could give dentists take advantage of. And it's all moving in the direction, obviously, to make it easier, make it cheaper, raise the level of care, and just keep improving for the dentist and for the patient.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what's really cool about it. And, and I don't think a lot of folks quite can fully appreciate sometimes about what all goes in to even just one module, even just one update in one module, let alone multiple updates in one module, let alone multiple updates in all 6, 7, 8 modules. And so there's a lot of moving parts, and it's so cool that you guys have grown team and brought people on board to really work these things out, because it's one of those things. It's like that old saying, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And so you guys building your teams over there and really committing to continual improvement in each one of these things it's really cool. So
yeah, look, we have a really great team. We have a great team of developers. We have our clinical consultants, which are great. We have Sheldon and Albert, of course, that are leading the way for the entire Blue Sky Bio. There's a tremendous amount going on, both on the side of the digital and on the side of the physical parts. And also, one of our strengths is the ability to combine both the physical parts and the digital side. So, for example, you mentioned IBT earlier. So you're able to get, an IBT in the box, which includes the IBT itself, obviously, which you could order out or you can make it yourself. It includes the brackets, includes the arch wires. So all of that, we're putting together both the digital side and the physical side, and we're putting together packages to kind of streamline, reduce costs, and just continue to improve.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited because I nerd out quite a bit. Actually, it's funny, I didn't know about that root segment, or that individual tooth root segmentation thing, but one of the exercises I do in my straight wire courses is putting a straight wire on these individual modeled teeth. So that way you can see where bracket placement goes and its effect on root torque and root tip and stuff like that. So as a big ortho nerd that I am, I'm really excited about being able to do that in the future with the software. That's going to be really cool. So,
yeah.
So tell me a little bit. And what I always tell folks is Blue Sky Plan, especially the ortho software, if folks have tried it in years past, it's completely different than today. I started back in the day when the auto, you had to individually mark the margins of each tooth, and all that stuff. And now the auto segmentation is so much more a breeze. And that's I had a student at my last class in Chicago say exactly that, because we fired it up at the day 2 morning, and he had used it, but it had been a few years, and so he's like, oh wow, I didn't realize how much more streamlined this is. And I'm like, yeah, it's that's why you don't go off of something that you haven't messed with for a few years, because there's been a lot of improvements that have been made. And I was with there was a 3D printer company up at my class, and they said that they're working on on the aligner, 3D printing an aligner resin. And I'm like, well, did you know that the aligner design is built into the latest Blue Sky? And so I showed him how that works. And so not even him, the one of the main reps for a 3D printer company that is working on, and they wanted to announce at the AAO meeting about a 3D printing aligner resin. He didn't even know that Blue Sky Bio already has that functionality built in for the design. So yeah, I see a lot of cool stuff. Coming up this way. So yeah, I want to talk a little bit next about the iSmile app and remote monitoring software. So for folks of you who are just getting started with ortho, or haven't been ortho is not a huge part of your practice, you may not have heard of remote monitoring software. So there's been some companies around for a while with different ways, and basically it's a way that patients can track their progress at home, that it's fed to you in a HIPAA compliant way, that you can monitor things. And so that way, during your aligner case, or your or even braces, I've used it for braces too, that you're not having to get them in every 6 weeks. Potentially you could potentially go a lot longer between adjustments or between office visits. So Mike, tell us a little bit about what made you guys want to get into that space and working on that field, and kind of what the progression has been like over the last few months.
Okay, so I think it's even a bigger picture in the last few months. Obviously, everybody was dealing with Corona, and a lot of technologies come out of it. And I think one of the results of it is the idea of improved telemedicine, teledentistry. Yes. So the remote monitoring is kind of a takeoff of that. But connecting it to our digital suite and everything that we've been talking about, it was kind of the next step in the progression. So you have, the dentist is getting the aligners to the patients, whether they're doing it in-house themselves or whether they're using Lab Pronto or different sources or whatever it is, they're delivering the aligners to the patient. And now the question is, okay, how do we help improve the next step of the system? And it's actually because we have a lot of our other digital products, such as BioBigBox, which is handling the data transfer and storage. We're able to leverage that and build on that and have everything continue to be integrated with that single sign-on and take things to the next step. And the next step in the process is really after the patient has gotten their aligners and following up with the treatment. So if you want to do things remotely and you want to keep costs down and you want to maximize the amount of convenience for the patient, then the remote monitoring is the next step. In terms of the remote monitoring itself, which consists both of the physical part and in terms of the app. So the physical part, we're distributing the STL files at no cost. So somebody has a 3D printer with some downtime, they could go ahead and print it themselves. And I've printed on a Robox, which is, as 3D printers go, it's kind of on the low end, and the scope came out great. So really, the dentist and the patient could get the scope at very low costs. And if somebody doesn't want to, then we're selling them the price starts at $13 a scope. They can go ahead and order them and get the scope into the patient's hand. In terms of the app currently is being distributed at no charge. In the longer term, we're definitely continuing to build on their remote monitoring and their remote monitoring functionality. In the longer term, the solution is going to be much more robust. We're going to have a dashboard. We're going to be able to manage patients, and there's a lot of other functionality, which I'm not going to get into now, that's going to be very innovative and very unique to the solution that we're putting together. So there's going to be updates coming over the next 4, 6, 8, 10 months. Any Blue Sky Bio product, as you were mentioning, and digital products in general, is never just launched, released, and that's it. And
right, never touched again.
Right. It's always an innovative, evolving process. We learn also how to do things better. We make improvements to existing functionality. We add additional functionality to it. And it's the same exact thing with the remote monitoring. So the remote monitoring solution, both from the patient side and from the dentist side, is going to turn into quite an impressive solution over the next several months, 6, 8, 10 months. So that's something that we're building out, something that we're looking forward to releasing as well. But that's kind of how we've gotten to the remote monitoring and our products in general. We see, okay, we've accomplished this. What's the next step? How do we continue to improve? How do we continue to improve the solution for the dentist and the patient?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what's really cool. Like, so for in my instance, I'm in a small town that's isolated. We're 20 to 30 miles away from any other size of town, which all those towns are small too. And so, I have patients from these other small towns coming to me for ortho. So they're driving 20, 30 physical miles, miles to come see me here. And so that's an hour round trip, in just drive time. And so that's why I was really excited for this. And so for folks who haven't seen what he was talking about, this is if you can download the files and get these STLs for free, and you can print them up yourself. And that's how I was doing it before they released this. But since releasing this, I have went ahead and ordered this version, so that way it's just it ties up my printer less, and so because it's usually running with all sorts of different stuff. So yeah, basically you get in the box, you get the scope and you get the camera mount where the scope snaps into like such, and then you have the phone holder over here, and then the app basically runs through. And what we can do, Mike, is I'll link your tutorial videos to this as well. So if people want to watch your tutorial videos and all that stuff on how it works, I'll link that to this video as well. But yeah, so basically they use this device with the app brought up, and it runs through. And so say they're in their in the bathroom looking in the mirror, and the camera is mounted to the scope, and so the app then just walks them through the patient through the steps on the different types of scans that you want to take. So for aligners, for example, you can take with the aligners in, you can ask for aligners out, you can ask for the teeth together, you can ask for the teeth apart. It's pretty, you can customize what all scans that you want the patient to do, which is pretty nice. And so, and then it just very simply walks through the steps. And I've given this to patients, and we show the demo in the office and all that stuff. And we've done it kind of all over the board as far as patient demographics and ages and stuff like that. And we have yet to get a person who just couldn't figure it out. Like, it's pretty streamlined and pretty simple for folks to follow on the app. So yeah, that's why I'm really excited about it. I mean, my end goal, where I'm not there yet, but my end goal would be basically to give a person all of their aligners so I don't have to store a damn thing in my office, and just set them up with the app and do any IPR or anything I needed on the front end, as long as the staging worked out for that. And then just be like, okay, every 6 weeks or every 4 weeks, we're gonna monitor on the app, and then we'll request that you come in if we think something's not tracking. But other than that, we might not see you for a while. And so
Exactly.
yeah,
Very good.
Goal.
And I think the app and the remote monitoring actually allows you to check on the patient more frequently, but according to your schedule. So you're busy during the day, you want to check at night, you want to check on the weekends or whatever, you can check in on the patient, check in on the videos, and you kind of could get more points of contact, more feedback using the remote monitoring than you would otherwise if you had to call them in every time.
Yeah. Now, is there, and excuse me if I'm putting the cart before the horse, but is there like any like planned future integration directly with the iSmile and so if it was designed in Blue Sky plan to, as far as tracking those like simultaneously, like basically like an overlap?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of things that are being developed, a lot of things that we're looking into, and I think a lot of that is very unique to the solution we'll be able to put together, being that the planning is done in Blue Sky Plan and the scans coming in. Yeah, that's some of the uniqueness that I think we're going to be able to add into the solution. That's going to make the solution quite innovative, powerful, convenient, and just yeah, exactly.
Gosh dang, that would be cool. And so for my students that are more of my straight wire students, if you guys have noted know over the last few years that I've moved to more segmental appliances at first to correct sagittal, kind of going off of Louis Carrier's sagittal first. And one of his appliances that I use quite a bit is the Carrier Motion appliance. But here's what's cool. So I'd use an appliance like this. This is, for an example, a patient who is half step class 2 on her left side. And so we'll be using a Carrier appliance to put this on. But even in a case like this, I'm still going to set her up with the iSmile app. And the reason being, because right now with the Carrier appliances, or any segmental appliances for that matter, I have to see them every 3 weeks or so, because I need to make sure that we're titrating the amount of distalization that's going on. But we might have to do that for 4 to 6 months at a time. And so it'll be much better to be able to use the iSmile app and be able to remote monitor. So that way I can check their distalization going on while at home, and then not have to get them back in until we know that the distalization's been accomplished. And then we can go ahead and plan up bracketing on the rest of the case. Versus right now, it's okay, we gotta get them in to check. We gotta get them in to check. And most of these checks are only like little 10-minute appointments because we're just looking. But then, oh, okay, well, we got the distalization. Now we got to get you reappointed for a bracketing appointment. Whereas this is just going to streamline things so much more. So not just the aligner side, but if you're using segmental appliances or things like that with on the straight wire side as well, still can be very, very beneficial. Or another way that I use it is in self-ligating bracket cases, where if you're using NiTi wires and self-ligating brackets, you don't need to see them every 3 weeks to change out O-ties. You can place a bioactive wire and let things cook for longer. And so you can request these scans and see when they're ready for their next size of wire. And so instead of having to see people every 3 to 4 weeks, you could potentially see people every 8 to 12 weeks. So that's really exciting stuff. So all right, Michael. So is there anything else that you would like to talk about today, or any other stuff you guys got cooking?
We have a tremendous amount cooking, and I think the point that you mentioned before is just very correct. You know, somebody that tried out a Blue Sky plan a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever, you know, if they haven't used it in a while, then they'll be surprised and they'll be impressed with the new functionality that we've added to orthodontics, to other modules as well. You know, and I think education, I think what you're doing in terms of education, the courses that you're running, for orthodontics especially, I think education is extremely important to enable more dentists to do cases in-house, bring costs down, take advantage of the technology out there, take advantage of the innovation in printing and printing materials and printers that are out there. The education is going to make everything faster, cheaper, more relevant. It's going to benefit the dentist, benefit the patient, and, you know, just continue doing what we're doing in terms of raising the standards of care, and just helping the dentist and helping the patients. So
I appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys' support too. Like anytime that I have a course coming up, which I need to get you guys the information on our November course in Chicago. But I appreciate your guys' help. And when I started branching out on my own about 3 or 4 years ago, you guys were very supportive of that, and I really appreciate that support. So, guys, as far as kind of last words here, anybody who wants to check this stuff out, let's give them some websites. If anybody wants to get a hold of you, is there a good way to do that? Tell my viewers a little bit about best next steps.
Okay, very good. So we have a whole bunch of websites. Blueskyplan.com is the one that's most relevant for the software. That's blueskyplan.com. We also have a lot of educational material to get started with, where dentists could watch how to use the software, learn how to do cases themselves, and it's something that they could get started with. We have iSmile.app, which is obviously everything that's focused to the patient. iSmile is the brand that we're putting out there for patients. Obviously, it's not relevant for them to go to blueskybio.com or blueskyplan.com. They shouldn't be. It's not relevant for them. What they should be interacting with is the iSmile teledentistry functionality, which the website for that is ismile.app. And kind of to put everything together, because we've expanded past the software and we're dealing with a digital suit now, so we've put together blueskybio.digital. Instead of the .com, it's .digital. And from blueskybio.digital, you'll be able to see all of our digital products, everything that we're working on, links and information, how to get started with each one of them. And as I mentioned earlier, getting started with any of these components usually is at no cost. You do your first couple of cases, and then once you're more comfortable with it, you're doing cases for patients, everybody's benefiting from it, then we start charging the nominal fees. But even the fees are quite reasonable. So I would direct people, again, the 3 websites that I think are most relevant is blueskyplan.com, everything about the software and some educational information. There's ismile.app, which is what we're dealing with, that's patient focused, and blueskybio.digital is just a website that kind of brings together all the information regarding our digital products.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. And so, yeah, guys, if any of this interests you guys, check out those websites. I actually didn't know about blueskybio.digital, so that's new to me. So I'm going to have my assistants actually check that out so they can get familiar with get even more familiar with the workflow. Michael, thank you so much for taking this time on this Friday to meet with me and just kind of catch up.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.